across earth electrode and earthing lead is found to be below 5 volt, testing is done. The next step is to test the resistance of earthing pit. It is advisable to test earth resistance during dry day, dry season in order to get conservative results. Further, records shall be maintained for the initial earthing resistance and subsequent earthing resistance. In this context, it is important to have a look at this table. The table here conveys how the resistance of earthing pit varies depending upon the seasonal condition. For example, if you take a look, the value of each month differ. While there is a lower value in July, January has a higher value. Therefore, you can see that the resistance values vary with the season. Also, if you look at the last row, the values have been consistently high in the month of January across all the 3 stations. Therefore, maintenance of each earth pit should be done when the resistance values are high. Further, this maintenance should be done during the dry seasons only, that is between January to March. So now we know that earth resistance varies from season to season. Well, let us look at a few more specifications in this context. Resistance should be measured during dry day and dry season. For low and medium voltage, it should be done in not less than once in 2 years. For high and extra high voltage, it should be done in not less than once a year. Identify the earthing station group to be tested. If resistance value is found high, that is over 1 ohm, then only individual station shall be tested. Test power in case of system earth. Caution tag shall be fixed at isolating point. Voltage shall be checked and this shall be within 5 volts. Only insulated lead should be used. The lead should be as short as possible. Current electrode shall be placed at least 30 meters away from earthing station and potential electrode midway between them. Auxiliary electrode, usually consisting of 12.5 mm diameter, mild steel rod shall be driven into the ground up to depth of 1 meter. The value of resistance to earth for each group of connected earthing pits shall not be more than 1 ohm for all range of voltages. Record of such test should be maintained for future reference. Old value, which is written on the nameplate, should be replaced by new one. Let us now look at the process of how earth electrode resistance is measured. As you can see in this diagram, there is a megger. There is an electrical circuit inside the megger and outside it as well. The labels C1, P1, P2, C2 are all terminals of the megger. Whenever the handle of the megger moves, it generates some amount of DC voltage. This voltage, say 50 volts, depending upon the rating of the megger, is applied across the C and E terminals. This causes flow of current through the soil into the current coil of earth testing megger. Now the voltage is measured across E and P terminals by potential coil. The torque developed is proportional to V by I, which in turn gives the value of earth or soil resistance, and the current is passing through the soil. Depending on the soil resistivity, the megger senses the amount of current passing through the devices in terms of how much voltage is applied and how much current is going through the soil. So, to measure the earth resistance, the voltage generated needs to be divided by the amount of current passing through. This division will give an idea about earth resistance. Therefore, the megger is crucial in finding out the earth electrode resistance measurement. It is also referred to as earth testing megger. This is all about the earth resistance measurement process. We had learned earlier that testing should be carried out in the dry seasons only, right? Now let us now understand what needs to be done to maintain earthing resistance. Firstly, 3-4 buckets of water shall be poured in the month of January, March, and November to keep soil wet. In case of high earth value, water shall be poured and resistance should be measured after 15 days of water pouring. If the earthing resistance is found consistently higher than prescribed value, then rework should be done. The periodicity of chemical treatment shall be determined by measurement of earth resistance based on routine test record. The adjacent area shall be clean, dry, and earthing pit should easily approachable. No material should be allowed to stack, dumped, accumulate, and debris shall not be deposited near or within the earthing station area. That was the end of this topic. Time now for a quick review. In the previous topics, we have learned about two types of earthing pits, pipe earthing pit and plate earthing pit. In this topic, we shall learn about another type, which is deep bore earthing pit. You know that earth pits are made to test earth electrode resistance and to find out the suitability of the area for earthing. When the testing is done, the required earth electrode resistance should be less than 1 ohm. Having too many pipe earthing pits and plate earthing pits may not give the required earth electrode resistance. Further, it is not feasible to have multiple earthing pits at one place since the area has to accommodate other equipments also. Therefore, the deep bore method is used preferably to reduce the number of earthing pits, especially in areas where soil resistivity is very high. Let us now look at the dimensions required for deep bore earthing. Bore holes for earth electrodes should be 550 mm bore diameter with length or depth ranging from approximately 10 meters to 20 meters. They are generally made by driving baler as indicated in the drawings for construction of bore holes along the boundary of the plant. The bore shall be abandoned and shall be shifted some other location at 2 meter apart in case of high value resistance. 100 mm diameter heavy duty GI pipe with holes at the bottom is centrally placed inside each of the bore hole and the area surrounded by GI pipe is filled up with good earth. All crane rails, cable trays shall be earthed by two separate and distinct connections to earth mat. Alternate building columns shall be connected to earth mats. Earth mats or grids shall be formed by properly routing 50 by 6 mm GI flats welded and secured duly along the structure, tunnel, building walls, etc. Please note that this type of earthing was adopted for earthing of electrical installations by the Stoor and Company in the Phase 2-3 modernization. Let us now move on to our next topic. Well, in this topic, we shall discuss about earthing for high tension transmission lines. To understand about this, you need to look at the figure given here. As you can see, the earth conductor is placed on top of the structural tower or structure to provide a shield angle over the power conductors to protect against lightning stroke. The recommended angle being 30° with the vertical formation of power conductor. This is also called protection angle. The shield angle is usually maintained at 25° for outer conductor and 45° for central one. Let us move on to learn about the specifications for tower earthing. Let us now look at the specifications prescribed for tower earthing. Each 132 kV transmission tower leg to be provided with one single peg earth electrode as per TISCO standard 09032. The electrode length shall however be 3 meter with 18 hole of 10 mm diameter at the bottom, 1 meter as per TISCO DRG number EDA by 5980. The electrode ID shall be 38 mm and 3.25 mm thick. All the earth pegs of the tower shall be interconnected by 50 into 6 mm GI flat. Two diagonally opposite legs of the tower shall be connected to earth pit 50 by 6 mm GI flat. The connection of GI flat at tower leg shall be done at a height of minimum 50 mm from the ground level. Hope you remember these specifications. Let us continue to the next topic. Before talking about lightning arrestor, here are some amazing facts about lightning. Do you know that Earth is struck by lightning 100 times every second and 8.6 million strikes a day? New York's Empire State Building is hit by lightning between 23 to 100 times a year. It's amazing that thunderstorms also contribute to the creation of fixed nitrogen through rainfall and fertilizes plants and soil. Interestingly, the positive charges below cloud are more likely to hit tallest objects like treetop building. A single stroke of lightning is usually 4 to 6 km long and has speed of 1,60,000 km per second. A single flash may carry 100 million volt of electricity and temperature may reach 13,000 degrees centigrade, 5 times hotter than the surface of the sun. Unbelievable, isn't it? Well, so we have learned many amazing facts about lightning. Now, when we talk about electrical equipment earthing, it is important to learn how lightning affects these equipments and how do we prevent them from getting damaged. We know that all electrical power equipments have lightning arresters on them. They also need to be earthed. So, special precautions are needed for earthing of lightning arresters 132 kV and 33 kV fixed on the overhead lines. These are as given below. Connect earth terminal of surge monitor with earthing system. Erect 40 by 6 mm size GI earthing flat supporting insulators from lightning arresters earthing terminal and extend the same near surge monitor. Connect earth terminal of surge monitor to individual earth electrodes for each station type lightning arrestor and the earthing flat should be straight as far as practicable. These earth electrodes should be connected to main earth system. Ground connection of surge monitor shall be made firmly before connecting the same near surge monitor. Well, we have completed all the topics in this module. Time now for a quick review. We have come to the end of the second and last module of parts earthing. Here is a quick recap of the key points discussed in this module. In this module, we have learned that earthing resistance is the resistance of the conductor that leads the fault current to earth. There are set Indian standard rules for earthing and installation of earthing pits. The process of installing earth pits involves commissioning, inspection, and testing earth pit resistance and maintenance. Earth resistance testing should be done only in dry seasons. Another method of deep bore earthing is used, preferably to reduce the number of earthing pits, especially in areas where soil resistivity is very high. There are rules specified for a HT transmission line earthing, tar earthing, and for earthing of lightning arresters as well. Thank you for your time. Hope you enjoyed learning. Click next to take the post test.